When you say make America great again, which period are we talking about? The period when women couldn't vote? The period when we were hanging from trees?
I'll answer.
Or like the crack era? Which period in America are you trying to make America like
So
again?
I actually think that I would totally rock a hat right now that said make Black America great again. Because Black America,
make America.
before,
We're talking about make America. That wasn't the question.
I am answering your question.
Which period was America great that we're trying to replicate? Which era was it?
Make America great again. My comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist remark? Just ask yourself from an African-American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African-American? When was it great? So if you're making it great again, it's not including them.
Trump's slogan, Make America Great Again, raises a lot of questions that many people are afraid to ask out loud. When exactly was America great? And who got to enjoy the greatness? Was it during segregation when American dream was reserved for some? Was it the 1950s when women were told their place was in the kitchen? Or the founding fathers era when freedom excluded enslaved people? On today's episode, we are pulling back the curtain on nostalgia, challenging the myths and asking questions that could redefine how we see history. Was America ever great for everyone or just a privileged few? I want us to watch these videos together that I've gathered for you guys. Every clip that you'll be seeing on this episode or every stitch that you'll be seeing on our today's episode, credits belongs to the original creators of these videos that you'll be seeing at their TikTok accounts on the screens. You can check them on their TikTok and follow them for more content from them. Also, if you're watching this and you are a MAGA supporter, I want you to kindly tell us on the comment section which era that you're saying America was great. That's the era that you want to take America back to. As you guys say, make America great again. If you're coming across this channel for the first time, my good name is Gracey D. Kindly consider subscribing to this channel. Don't forget to give this video a like, turn on your notification bell so that every time we post a new video, you always be among the first ones to be notified. So let's dive right ahead to today's video and we'll come back with more commentary.
When you say make America great again, which period are we talking about? The period when women couldn't vote? The period when we were hanging from trees?
I'll answer.
Or like the crack era? Which period in America are you trying to make America like
So
again?
I actually think that I would totally rock a hat right now that said make Black America great again. Because Black America,
make America.
before,
We're talking about make America. That wasn't the question.
I am answering your question.
Which period was America great that we're trying to replicate? Which era was it? Tell me.
I think I'll answer your question. I'm ready to answer your question.
Which era was it?
What?
Which era was so great?
Here's the thing that you guys are forgetting. America was actually one of the slavery was all over the world. All over the world. America was, I'm not saying it's okay, so why are you saying, oh?
Hey, man.
America was one of the first countries.
I want to like you so bad. Because you're so smart. I want to like you so much.
I can't answer the question.
I want to hear you. I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to hear them.
If I can't answer the question and you're just going to boo when I say slavery was all over the world, which is a fact, why are you booing a fact?
Because you're making light of...
No, I'm not.
You're making light
I
of
haven't
the
gotten into my points. I'm not
of people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing you breeze over.
I haven't even finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
You started with some bull.
Okay.
Make America great again. My comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist remark? And most people, a lot of people go, how could that be racist? Make America great again? I said, so just ask yourself from an African-American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African-American? When was it great? So if you're making it great again, it's not including them.
So what she was trying to say and did say eventually is that America was one of the first countries she said, free our ancestors. Nope, it was one of the last. So it's just revisionist history. And then the question is, why? Why are you doing revisionist history?
Because that money is real nice, right?
When was America last great?
For me, I would say the turning point for our country was 1913, when we passed the 17th Amendment. And what's
So like back when like women couldn't vote?
Yeah, well, back up, but again, let's
Like that
go
was
back.
that's kind of your sweet spot right there.
Absolutely.
What year was America great?
When it was founded.
Except for the slavery stuff.
Except for the slavery stuff, you know?
I think we were probably our strongest immediately post-World War II.
So around the 1950s?
Yeah, mid-40s, 50s.
I mean, I think the 50s was great other than, segregation and women's rights.
Look, we could sit here and paint negative faces of all times in America.
Correct.
Make America great again. It's been his mantra since he's run in 2015. What does that mean? What is again? When was America great?
Well, that question right there says everything that I need to know about you, that you don't really think America was ever great at any time. I think America was great. The spirit, the whole purpose for America was about the American spirit, coming here and making something for yourself and having the opportunity to do that for yourself, to work hard. And that's what America is all about. So the people that hate America will always say, well, when was it ever great? It's just not a very good attitude to have, in my opinion.
And when was that lost in your estimation?
I think a lot of it was lost when the Federal Reserve took over the money system. We need to go back to a gold and silver-backed system where currency it counts.
Make America great again. What does that mean to you? What's the again?
To me, the again means that we have somewhere safe where we can have those freedoms that we are so lucky to enjoy. There are so many people throughout the world that do not have what we have, and it is a blessing. That's why we have people that want to be here, and we will fully encompass all of that greatness again.
When did we last have it, if it's again?
I feel like we did have that when President Trump was in office. I feel like we can work with what he built on in the first presidency and make it even better.
When he was running in 2016, it was before he'd even been president, but he was still saying make it great again. Again from when?
That is a good question. I would say if I could guess, it would be, and I think that they're very politically lined up, would be maybe with JFK. And when he was president, and what we embodied with some optimism and freedoms that we didn't have before, and trying to find that.
When was America last great?
4 years ago, or 3 years ago.
Well, he was saying it before he got there. He was saying make it great again. So he didn't think. What did that message mean to you then?
I felt President Reagan was an excellent president too.
And nobody between Reagan and Trump.
I am not a Democrat, so.
Well, you had George Bush there, and you had George Bush's son.
He was right, yeah, but I still liked President Reagan.
When I see the Make America Great Again, my comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist remark? When was it ever great in America for the African American?
So Bryan Cranston has stirred up a lot of controversy recently on the internet with an interview highlighting something that a lot of places have studied for some time, talking about how the phrase "make America great again" and other phrases similar tend to highlight the lack of empathy we're always seeing from the right, and their overall consistent inability to step outside of their own experience and acknowledge others. Because at its core, that is what empathy is, the ability to share someone else's feelings or experience by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. Which is kind of the main reason I always say, I have some friends and acquaintances that are kind of on the right, but I would never date someone on the right, because someone who has a lot of empathy is important to me in dating, and cue all of the crying boys who totally don't care in my comments. The phrase itself, "make America great again," perfectly embodies their utter lack of empathy. Because it brings up the great question they can never seem to answer is, when was America great for absolutely everybody and not just straight white men, is the catch. I mean, African Americans weren't even technically freed until 1869. They couldn't really all even vote, and not even voting safely at this point, till 1870. They're still fighting being able to vote safely and easily to this day. The Civil Rights Act wasn't passed until 1964, not that long ago. Married women weren't even allowed to own their own property or keep their own working wages until 1848. We definitely couldn't even vote until 1920. Even though technically we were supposed to be able to have our own bank accounts in the 60s, many banks would still not allow them to be signed off without a husband. And without a husband, we weren't allowed to own credit cards until 1974. Which is wild when you consider that's close to 10 years off from when my oldest sibling was born. And many of us weren't even allowed to be married legally everywhere until 2015, and they're still fighting that constantly to this day. When you say the phrase "Make America Great Again," who does that include? Because it excludes all women, all people of color, LGBTQ communities. Do you want to do the math on who's left in that equation? Yeah, it's people who have no ability to see outside of their lived experience and understand that America wasn't really ever that amazing for the rest of us.
Now, you mean to tell me that making America great again was taking us back to the 17th and 18th century? With us working in the fields? But for low wages? Mass deportation. Getting rid of diversity, equity, inclusion. Immigrant jobs becoming available.
I've asked the question a million times, when was America great, right? Because Make America Great Again. And I think I know when it was great again. So it would make sense that America was great between 2000 and 2004, because that's when George W. got an amazing economy from Clinton. And then, of course, while George W. was in office over those 8 years, his policies crashed the banking system, creating too big to fail. Then we get Obama, who spends 8 years getting the economy back on track. Then he gives the keys over to Trump, right? So from 2016 to 2020, because we're coming out of another Democrat that fixed another Republican's problems, we have a great economy again. So that's when America is great again, is during Trump's 2016 to 2020. Now, Trump triples the deficit, 27 trillion now versus 9. We hit a wall with COVID, shut down our economy for 2 years. Biden has to come in and now fix Trump's mess. And now he's running on making America great again, assuming going back to 2000, 2004 or 2016 to 2020. Both great times in our lives that came after 8 years of a Democrat. So what I see is that they should have waited another 4 years to pick up that 8-year economy that Biden or the Democrats would have fixed, and then they would have made America great again. But you're not going to be able to fix this problem or make it like it was before, because nobody has solved those problems for you. So to go back to when it was great in 2016 or 2000, I just don't think it's going to happen, because you didn't give the Democrats enough time to actually turn around what he did.
From 1948 to 1973, for 25 years, the U.S. economy was so amazing that you could conceivably get a job. I mean, a regular job. I don't mean an amazing job. Just a job. And the pay would be so high and the benefits so amazing that you could not only afford to buy a house and feed your family, you might be able to send your kids to school, and you might be able to retire really well. That was the only time, in fact, in human history where a person could work and make wealth. Because if you look at the middle class today in the United States, they don't make wealth. They barely get by. But for 25 years, people were prospering. If people aren't fretting about food, if they're not worried about shelter, if they're not in constant fear that the economic situation they're in will collapse, they have mind space to start to ask bigger and better questions. Wait a minute, what about civil liberties? What about civil rights? What about human rights? And the next thing you know, by 1954, 6 years into this explosive economy, we're in the middle of a revolution.
As a 50-year-old who just voted blue for the first time, I've thought a lot about, in my life, when was America great? And I would say that probably the best or the greatest time in America was between the years of about 2008 to 2016. And now, when those times were going in my life, like I said, I was a Republican. So I never attributed the greatness of our society at that time with like the growth of technology. We were seeing, streaming apps. We were seeing you were able to invest on apps. Like that system was changing. It was easier to get revenue streams at that time. Gas was cheap. You could get a house relatively cheap in those times. And I never, at that time, just thought it had anything to do with the presidency. But I would say that that's exactly what it was about. So when America truly was the best, at least in my life, and I'm 50 years old, was when Obama was in office. And like I said, I never attributed it to that until now, when I realize, and I've seen this since then, right? It has not been great since Trump has even tried to be president. And then the 4 years we had him wasn't great. 4 years after him wasn't great. And now we have another 4 years of things not being great. And so, yeah, those were the great years.
I just wanted to know, where are you from?
Texas.
From America, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, when was America great for us black people?
Right now.
Oh,
Tell you it's great right now.
Really?
Yeah. It ain't great for you?
No, not at all.
How?
I mean, I'm living life.
Looking good. You got clothes on. Look well fed.
But that doesn't mean
got
it's great.
Beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Got your eyeliner on. You looking good. What kind of bag is that? That's a nice little bag there. You look good. America look good for you. If you were eating out of trash can, I'll tell you something different. America's a great place. I don't understand how we are not acknowledging that. It's great. Look at all these different people out here. Men, women, black, white. You will never see this much diversity anywhere else. It's the greatest place on earth. Everybody can be here and enjoy one another, disagree with each other. We have the freedom of speech, freedom to keep and bear arms. We don't have to worry about the government interfering in our lives for the most part. It's the greatest country ever. And if we don't start acknowledging that, we're going to screw up something good.
What does Make America Great Again suggest? Donald Trump's slogan, Make America Great Again, suggests that America was once in a better state and that this greatness needs to be restored. But looking so much into these videos and doing so much research, this idea of greatness is rooted in a nostalgic view of the past, often ignoring struggles and inequalities faced by many in the United States of America, tending to focus on a simplified, idealized version of history, ignoring uncomfortable truths like racial injustice, gender inequality, and economic disparities. I've done my research on what could this nostalgia reference, and when many people say let's make America great again or make America great again, some of them may be thinking of different periods in time, such as the post-World War II era of the founding fathers' time. Each of these periods had unique characteristics, but there was also time some large groups of people were excluded from the greatness America enjoyed. For example, during segregation, black Americans were denied basic rights, and women in the 1950s were expected to stay at home rather than pursue careers. Exclusion in American history. In the era of segregations, laws and social norms actively oppressed black people. They were denied access to quality education, housing and job, and faced regular violence and discrimination. Could this be one of your era that you mean making America great again? So when people talk about let's make America great again, it's essential to ask, when was America great for everyone? Or are you just selecting a group of people that benefited from systematic racism? As you've seen in the videos, there are even men that saying America was great in the 1950s. The 1950s are often idealized as a time of prosperity, with families portrayed as having stable lives and traditional gender roles. But this period, we also know that women were heavily limited in their social roles, expected to be homemakers and caregivers, instead of participating equal in the workforce or in leadership positions. This wasn't great for women, especially those who wanted more opportunities for personal and professional growth. Let's look at the Founding Fathers era. The Founding Fathers of the US are often celebrated for their revolutionary ideas about freedom and democracy. However, they didn't extend these ideas to everyone. Enslaved black people were denied freedom, and indigenous people were systematically displaced. The question rises, especially for those who are for Make America Great Again, how can you celebrate freedom when it was excluded from so many people? What What about the American dream and inequality? Who had access to the American dream? The American dream is a common narrative that suggests that everyone could succeed in America through hard work. However, this dream wasn't and still not accessible to everyone equally. Instances discriminating practices like redlining and unequal educational opportunities meant that minorities and poor people are often locked out of the economic opportunities that the American dream promised. So the idea of American being great is a myth for many people who were and still are denied these opportunities. So yeah, we've seen so many movements in the United States of America. For example, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Me Too. So this shows that there were people still in the communities that were not included in this greatness of Make America Great Again, or that era that you all speaking of America being great. You've seen of so many things that happen, these systematic racism, these racial injustices that happen, the number of innocent melanated people that are locked behind bars for crimes that they didn't commit, and no people want to give them an ear as they're trying to fight for their innocence and proving their innocence. So that's why you get so many people asking, when was America great again? And I'm sure this is a topic that most people, especially those that think America was great, they don't want to have this discussion because it's very uncomfortable for them. They don't want to face the truth. They don't want to accept of the things that were happening and still are happening to certain groups of people, which is quite sad. So yeah, I know you're gonna say all these immigrants, they're coming to the United States of America because it's a land of dream, it's a land of milk and honey. This is because, yeah, there are opportunities in the United States of America, but are there equal opportunities for each and every citizen of the United States of America? Are there equal rights, or are there equal opportunities for melanated people, for indigenous Americans and the European Americans in the United States of America? I'm sure this is a question that most of those people feel uncomfortable of having this discussion or talking about this topic. They won't be able to find an answer. Instead, they'll try to beat around the bush and come up with their own reasons as to why they think America was great. And I'm still waiting, or many people are still waiting to see how this 2025 and the 4 next years to come, how you guys are going to make America great. I don't know what you all think about this topic. I know some of you would not want to discuss about this topic, especially for pound colored people. This is a very sensitive topic for them, but it's time, and it's the right time now for people to start having these discussions openly. It's time for you to ask people, when you hear someone saying let's make America great again, go on ahead and ask them so that you get to understand which era are they talking about, so that you can get to understand, maybe, yeah, I get their point as to why they're saying America was great to them, but not for every American citizen. Let me know what your thoughts are on the comment section. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, kindly consider subscribing. Give this video a like. Thank you so much for watching up to this part, and until the next episode.